And I remember he used to say all the time with children's photography, the only thing the parent looks at is that face, which is why a parent would be happy at JCPenney's if the photographer was able to capture a good expression on that child's face, right? Because that's all the parent cares about, right? So like all these things that we worry about as photographers, that everything has to be perfect. I have to crop them all. I have to make sure they're not a little crooked and whatever in that quick edit. You don't have to. Like the parents are so focused on their child and what expression that they love, they don't even see the rest.
Hey, and welcome back to the Difference Maker Revolution podcast. And we're back with the four again. We have Steve, who we're talking sales, his favorite subject. After people, of course. People first, then sales.
People are my favorite subject.
Exactly. And then we have Jonathan and we have Jeanine. And of course, I'm here too. So.
Who's I'm? Who are you?
I'm Ronan, sometimes known as Ron or Ronald, because I know Ronan's an Irish name and sometimes it's difficult, but you can call me whatever you want. I don't take offense no matter what you call me, Jeanine.
The guy in the hat.
The guy with the cap. So we're talking about sales and we're following on the first podcast we've done on sales, and we're going to talk again to sales, I believe. So, Jeanine, tell us about sales for you in terms of changes you made, right? Changes that you made to when you do your design consultation.
Let's go with improvements.
Improvements to your design. Well, let's even go a step further. Client focused improvements, Jeanine.
There we go.
To your design consultation.
Oh, I love our wordsmithing. It's fantastic.
Elevate your client's experience.
So for legit 17 years in this studio, we would photograph a session, send the client home, have the client come back a week later to do their design consultation, right? That's just how we did it. I didn't know that there was any other way to do it. That's how I was taught. That's how I was trained. And so it's just what we did. And then 2 years ago now, and I can't even remember who brought it up. It came up about doing instantly, right? Not instant, obviously, but same day, right? To have the client stay after their session and then do their design consultation right away. And I remember when I heard this, I was like, well, that would work for everyone but me. There's no way I could do that. My clients have kids, and kids wreak havoc, and kids get tired, and kids need to nap, and kids are cranky, and kids will tear apart the studio, and yada, yada, yada. Parents would have to go back to work. They don't have time to stay. Like all of these things, I don't think I even gave it a thought because I just threw up all the objections right away.
You spent a lot of time thinking about all the objections.
I did spend a lot of time thinking about all the objections. Although you'd be surprised. They came to my mind pretty quick.
So, Jeanine, just on those false beliefs that you had at the time, like what was like the epiphany that you had that made you want to change then?
I will tell you the epiphany that made me want to change right away. The number of clients that were driving over an hour away. And as soon as our Facebook ads really kicked off and we were starting to get clients more than just in our 10-mile radius of the studio, I was like, this is crazy. I can't expect them or ask them with gas prices as they are, which I know you guys love our gas prices here. And so I threw that in as a joke. But
ours are only triple yours.
I know. Yeah. So it became a realization that it was actually inconvenient for the client to have to come back. And so then I started really thinking to myself, I'm like, is it impossible for them to stay? Can we not find a way to make this work? And when I started to figure out how for our clients who were driving over an hour away, how we can make it work, I'm like, well, hot damn, I can do this for everyone. And when I started realizing the clients that we were doing it for that were driving from a distance, oh my gosh, it just made everything flow better in the studio. And I mean, we were editing faster, which, you know me, I love efficiency. Even it might be Jonathan's word of the year, but you know, I am an engineer at heart. And so efficiency is always one of my things. And so we were more efficient with our editing. We were able to service the client better.
What made it more efficient, Jeanine? What do you think?
Time. You know, it's like the closet theory. The bigger your closet, the more crap you take. right? And you store. Well, the more time you have the edit, the more time you take to edit. Right? You sit and you're like, oh, I can't decide which image is better. Which one should I keep? Oh my gosh, when that client is waiting in the other room, we're done in like 15 minutes with that. It's like,
you don't have time to bring a friend and ask their opinion?
We don't bring the whole studio together. Oh, Betsy and Elizabeth, which one do you like better? No, we fly through that editing. And, funny enough, the clients don't know any different. So just made it made that faster, right? The editing faster. And beautiful thing. So, and like sometimes you have unintended consequences. Well, we had unintended benefits. Our delivery time sped up. So especially for us with clients who it's about birthdays. And sometimes in the past, like they would schedule their session and we couldn't get their portraits back to them before their birthdays because of that time between session and ordering, right? Well, now the session and ordering same day. So sometimes like even if a client, the birthday is the next day, guess what? Depending on what they order, we will turn around an image fast enough for them to have the next day so they can have something in time for their birthday. And that speed to satisfy the client, unbelievable. And when they go on and they post their image and that's when they like really glow about their experience because they can't believe how fast they were able to get something done. And so, and they just love it. And it keeps that momentum going with the client. So for so many reasons, it has just been one of the biggest improvements in our client journey that we have had in the past year. I just had to get out of my own way to do it.
So the clients are fine with it.
The clients are totally fine with it. And the ones who aren't, they tell us, like Jeanine, I only was able to take my lunch break for an hour. I had to do the session during this lunch break and I'll come back in 2 days on my next lunch break to do the design consultation. Okay. I'm not going to, so we suggest it. But then we let the clients ultimately decide what's going to work best for them.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what too, it's gotten rid of a lot of our Zoom calls. Because that was what would end up happening for our clients that were long distance was they didn't want to come back. So we would do a Zoom design consultation, which, I have worked out how to do that really well, but nothing is as good as in person. Right. So, it's reduced those a lot.
Why do you think it's not as good as in person?
Well, for many reasons. For us, like I like people to touch. I'm very touchy. So I want them to hold their treasure box. I want them to flip through an album. I want them to look me in the eye. Like I know you look in the eye in Zoom, but not really because their images are up on the screen. So we're not relating as much as we do in person. And so for me, it's just that the 5 senses aren't activated on a Zoom call like they are when they are in person.
That's great.
So
I agree.
So we ended up having to put systems in place for it, right? So obviously with just a baby's not walking, they're not destructive, right? They might cry, but they can be strapped into a car seat or the mom can nurse or they can put the baby to sleep or something like that. We had to come into plans for like when families have older kids, toddlers. That's where the fun can happen. So we created activity kits for different ages and we have activity kits now for kids of different ages that are age appropriate for them to do. So that way they're not just on electronic devices, because parents can bring an iPad and they often do. And that puts a kid into a trance for a little bit. But, we're all about the experience and we're all about connection and we're all about creating that time for a parent with their child. And so I don't want it just to be the kid is occupied on an iPad, right? Let's give them some coloring. Let's give them a craft. Let's have them do something fun that they can then take home with them. And so we have cute little activities and crafts and coloring things that then that child can take home with them from the session that just adds more to the experience for the whole family. Little make and takes.
And the parents aren't stressed.
And the parents not stressed. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's always for the younger ones, there's always the stroller. We used to ask parents to bring the stroller in with them.
Yep, bring the stroller in.
Half the time they're so settled and you don't have to strap them in, but they'll just
strap them in, Steve. No, a lot of our 1-year-olds just fall asleep. Honestly, we wear those babies out, and then they have the sugar from the cake, and then they crash. So they they fall asleep during the design consultation.
The biggest objection I hear for that, especially the 1-year-olds, is, that, oh no, they'll be tearing the place apart and they're crying and they're such a distraction. But we found the same thing, that they usually would just fall asleep after the session.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ren.
So Jeanine, I can hear many of our listeners going, how does Jeanine manage to fully edit? How many photos do you show your client? 30, 40?
We show them 40-ish.
Okay. So how do you manage to fully edit 40 photos in 15 minutes? When I see photographers saying all the time, I was up till 2:00 this morning doing all my editing.
It's funny you should say that, Ronan. So we don't fully edit, right? So we cull, if you want to call it that. That's what you call it, Steve, right? Culling.
Yeah.
So we take, and we've actually worked on this. So I'm a very efficient photographer. I click what I mean. Because I was trained on film and a Hasselblad, and I had 12 shots in a session. Maybe 24 if I was splurging for 2 rolls of film, right? So I learned, and my muscle memory still is to click when it means something, right? So, but Elizabeth wasn't trained that way. Her background is photojournalism, right? So she was, right? And so, that's been a journey. Actually, it was funny when she first started, I was worried she was going to blow out the flash. Right? I was like, oh my God, it's on fire. But so we had to slow her, I slowed her down in the photography so we don't burn out the flash bulbs, but to really think about what she's photographing. And yes, stop now, you're making me laugh.
I so relate to that.
Right?
So relate to that. I had a flash head in service or 2 every day of the week.
It's so
I had
true.
to carry 3 extra flashes because they would
oh my God, it's crazy.
Blow them up.
Blow them up, right? So, but then it became in a first birthday session, I'll typically shoot 150, 160 images. Elizabeth was at 289, right? I'm we got to get that down, right? There is no reason to photograph 289 images to show them 40. Right. So it became a whole efficiency in our photography too, because even if you have all the time in the world, you don't want to take all the time in the world to edit your images down to what you're going to show the client. And so that's something I really worked with her on last year. Now, we will still occasionally get that baby who, oh my God, it's just, right? It just takes more to photograph them. But on average, we really aim for that 150, 160 images to get the ones that we want to show the client. And honestly, the most of that comes from the birthday cake eating. Cause you don't they move so fast when they're eating that cake. But the images ahead of time, we've really honed into only clicking when they're doing what we know will sell and what's capturing for that parent. So we become much more efficient with our shooting, Ronan. And that's really helped with the editing time. But then we don't retouch before we show the client there. And I actually never did, to be honest. The only time I ever did that was when I was adding magic for our wizarding sessions. I would not, and I still wouldn't do it all. I would pick 2 images to add the magic to there so they could see it and therefore imagine it in the rest of their portraits. But we've even stopped doing that. It's amazing how clients, and it's funny. And now I'm going to forget his name. Dennis Kraft. Dennis Kraft? Yes. I took a week-long course with him in Texas way back in the day. And I remember he used to say all the time with children's photography, the only thing the parent looks at is that face, which is why a parent would be happy at JCPenney's if the photographer was able to capture a good expression on that child's face, right? Because that's all the parent cares about. Right. So all these things that we worry about as photographers, that everything has to be perfect. I have to crop them all. I have to make sure they're not a little crooked and whatever in that quick edit. You don't have to. The parents are so focused on their child and what expression that they love, they don't even see the rest, in that. So we stopped doing that, and it made a huge difference. And especially if the work that you have up, if they can see what you can produce, they know you're going to produce that for them. Right. And it becomes a matter of they just focus on the expression and the pose and everything that they like. So that's how we were able to do it in 15 minutes, because we don't do the rest of that. Now, some of the tools that are out there now help make the efficiency even faster. So to be honest, like we did have one client in December whose baby, like I legit, and Steve, you know this always happens, right? When does a baby fall and get a scratch across their face? Yeah. Right before coming in for their photography session, right? So we had a mom and she was so self-conscious. Like she's like, oh my gosh, I almost canceled because the baby fell and got this gash across her forehead. I'm like, it's not a problem. Like we can fix that. It's easy, right? Don't even stress about it. So we did. I mean, I took an extra 2 minutes. We used a specific AI retouching software, and we removed it in all 45 of her images before we showed the tour, because I knew it would just stress her out to see it. And that's all she would focus on, and she wouldn't focus on anything else, right? So we just removed it, and it was just gone.
You still did it same day?
We still did it same day.
Right.
Yeah. We still
did it. Because the AI tools are, so fast now.
Yeah. They're so fast now. So I'll tell you what. So if that's what you're really selling as your benefit to the client, ooh.
Well, we found the same. We found that it got better sales with photos that weren't retouched. And then, once we've retouched it, I kind of feel like they've almost got you over. They feel as though they've got you over a barrel if you tell them that everything's being done and you've spent all this time retouching. So.
Yeah, I agree. Because then why not just, exactly.
We've done the same. It's goes contrary to what most people seem to believe and do. But I think the fact that they get to see their photos when they're the most excited, they've gone out of their way to make time for their family, make time for this now, and we're respecting their time. Really, it seemed we got our sales averages increased because we were doing them same day.
Well, and I will tell you this too, Steve, like you say with respecting the time, guess what too? If dad was there for the experience, he's now there for the design consultation. And it's not a matter of him not coming back the second time. And so that is another benefit to it as well. That everyone who is there for the experience is now also there for the design consultation. Although I will say we have had some, again, where if the dad or the partner, it doesn't have to be the dad, we've had some stay-at-home dads and then it's the mom, right? And so we've had both. We have a wide variety of clients and all sorts of different situations with who's working, who's not working, whose schedule is more crazy than the other person's. But regardless, so we have had where only one person comes for the experience and then the other person shows up at the time for the design consultation.
Well, sometimes we've had people organize their parents, the grandparents are coming to pick up the kids.
Yep, we've done that too.
Yeah.
Yep. Or the dog. Please take that dog out of here. I'm much better prepared to deal with, children than I am dogs that are crazy. So can you please, especially for us, like we have a big enough studio, but not big enough where if another client is coming in for their session and that person might have a child terrified of a dog.
Yeah.
If they see a dog and then now it's done, right? We've just ruined their experience because now the child's freaked out by this dog. So we really tried to we try to have the pets removed. Or if it's a calm enough pet that can stay in the design consultation room, we close, the door is closed and then it doesn't bother another client. So you do have to be conscious of that as you're scheduling and things like that. You don't want one person's experience to be affected by another person's experience in the studio.
Sometimes you can, because your calendar's set, you can call the next person and just say, look, there is going to be a dog right before you, is that going to be an issue? And sometimes we've moved people. But when it's kids, sometimes all they want to do is play with that dog. And so then you can't get them into the studio.
Yes.
So when you think it's all okay, it's not okay.
It's not okay. Well, it's funny you say that, like kids being excited. So we have in our design consultation room, we have a couple of situated toys for the kids to play with and a little couch that they can sit on. So when kids know that's there, right? The second time they come back, they go right to it. And then we have a hard time pulling them into the session. I'm like, no. We'll play with the toys later. Now we have to be, now it's photography time. So it is interesting. Kids do get distracted very easily.
You got to move him around, Jeanine.
That's why we call Steve. He's still a kid, right?
Yes.
Ronan, do you think like Steve did too much talking and we did too much talking in 2024 that Jeanine's just like making up for it now?
I don't know.
Like,
it's just she's on fire today despite the cold in Florida.
It's the topic. Sometimes I have a good topic and I just go with it.
So Jeanine, what softwares? You mentioned even AI, but what other softwares do you use in your design consultation?
So to cull through before we show them to the clients, we use Lightroom. I mean, we download the images, we shoot raw. So we download in raw, we import them into Lightroom. We do the quick culling. I have a preset that I have set for the light side of the studio, the dark side of the studio, and the gray side of the studio. So we have all the presets. We run the preset on everything, and then we export to JPEG. We rename them, export them, and then import them into Pro Select in the other room, right? So we run everything on a server, much to Ron's chagrin. I think he harasses me that I run Pro Select on a different computer than we do our editing, but that's okay. It works for us. And so we, our design consultation room, is linked to the server. So and it's pretty cool. Like we have it all set. We're ready to go, right? So Betsy's in the room waiting for me to say, go. And so like, as soon as it's done exporting out of Lightroom, she's importing them into Pro Select. We have Pro Select up and running, ready to go. As you guys know, you definitely want to make sure all your software is ready to go the morning of at the beginning of your day, because you don't want it to be the one time you have to two-factor authenticate or make sure, like all the different funky things that can happen with software while your client's sitting there. So it's part of our morning checklist. We get logged into all of our software, so it's ready to go. We have the client folders remade, like little things that take a couple of minutes. When you really start looking at trying to get it done in 15 minutes, make a huge deal. So instead of creating the client folder and the session folder when we're downloading, we have it done that morning. So now it's just open on the computer, ready to download into it, right? So it's just little things like that. It just makes it more efficient. And so everybody will figure that out for themselves. And it's great to do and get it done in the 15 minutes instead of the 2 hours it takes later. So, but we use Pro Select, and that's what we use in the design consultation to show clients their images and walk them through the process.
At the last workshop, I was shocked at almost everybody wasn't using Pro Select and was using Lightroom to sell on, or
whatever, Explorer.
Yeah, something like that.
That boggles my mind. I can't even imagine. I've used Pro Select since back in the day, like when it was clunky, but it was still the best in my mind to be able to visually show clients what they were ordering, to do everything that we need to do to complete the design consultation with a client. I can't imagine using anything else. It's efficient. You can group things. You can design for them. You can build out the wall collections. You can put images in different Oh my gosh. I can't, to me, it's so hamstring. Yeah.
So, yeah, it boggled my mind that, you spend so much money on equipment, spend so much time getting a client, so much money getting a client, doing all that work. And then the very one thing that showcases why the clients are there in the first place, for some reason, people seem to skimp on that. And, this is the crucial point where the clients are now deciding, what they'd love to take home, and
right,
designing artwork that's going to live forever in their homes. You've got to have.
Got to have it. I know the amount of money that photographers waste in other areas of their business and then complain about the cost of a sales software. I'm like, are you serious? Yeah, it's like 2 coffees a month and you can have Pro Select and make thousands.
Just hold on for a second. I need to message Ron Nichols to tell him where to send the check, right? Just
Oh, that's funny. But I will say this, we do not edit in front of the client. So we do that in a separate room. I'm not going to edit in front of the client. That would just, oh my God, could you imagine? That would just, no. So please don't do that.
Edit, you mean crop and cull, right?
Crop and cull, yeah.
Right.
Does anyone crop and cull in front of a client?
I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't want people to think that doing same day would mean you crop and cull in front of your client.
Oh God, I hope no one does that.
I hope no one does that too. So please don't think that that's what we're doing.
So Jeanine, how many of your clients have said, all right, so you're going to charge me less now, right? Because you haven't spent weeks and weeks and weeks getting ready for the design consultation and all that sort of thing. How many clients say that to you?
Nobody. Ronald. Nobody has. In fact, they're overjoyed that they get, and it's so funny because I've had this debate with, if I've had it with one photographer, I've had it with 10 or 100, that clients value how long it takes something to be created. And I will debunk that every freaking day. Like, I just cannot, like, I am a consumer. I don't revel in the fact that it takes something a long time to get to me. No, like, I want it fast and I want it now and I want it instant. And Amazon has totally completely changed people's expectations of how long it should take something to get to you. Oh my God, I think even if you custom order a BMW, you have it faster than some photographers take to deliver a portrait. So, I am a big believer that if you can satisfy your clients faster, and now think about it from my standpoint too, my goal is to have my clients in the studio at least 4 times a year. So if I'm taking several months to deliver, they're already back again for their next session. You know what I mean? So we are trying to, and they're excited. Oh my gosh, when they get their portraits and they're delivered within a week or two, they are over the moon excited that they got their portrait so fast. They haven't forgotten about them. And Steve, I remember you made that comment when you came into the studio. You're like, wow, you don't have a lot of orders waiting to be picked up, right? It's because we get them.
That's one of my key performance indicators.
Yeah.
That tells me whether your clients.
And it's funny because I didn't know that. And I automatically started explaiing to you, no, we do have a lot of clients. We do have a lot of orders. They're just not sitting here.
It was a good thing.
And it was so funny because I thought you were about to be like, oh, you need to get more clients. And I was like, and I didn't realize what you were asking, but yes. And so our clients pick up because it's been done so fast and it hasn't been forgotten. And they haven't lost their excitement for their portraits because we're able to deliver faster. So now taking that week out of the delivery cycle, huge.
And that drives referrals.
Yes.
The clients that tend to do that and they're excited to pick up, it tends to drive the referrals because there's the excitement's maintained all the way through it. So the minute we switch to same day and bringing all of that forward and keeping that delivery time to under 2 weeks, our referral rates really multiplied.
Yeah. Well, and too, like when you especially when you hear what other people, like we've had clients who have used us after using another photographer and they're baffled. They're like, oh my God, it took like 4 months to get our photos from our last photographer. And I'm like, really? Well, no, here you go. And you're never going to lose that client. They're never going to go back to the person who took 4 months to deliver when you've delivered in a week, you know? So, I mean.
There's a lot to be learned, Jonathan, isn't there? How can I learn more?
Jonathan's speechless.
I'm just shocked at hearing that this actually happens, but I don't know why it should be, because when you listen to phone calls and Steve listens to sales, you'll always be surprised. Anyway, to do it the best way, we have an incredible new opportunity for you, and that is our first ever Sales Success Challenge. We are hosting it on February 10th, 11th, 12th. It's a 3-day online Sales Success Challenge. And when you join the challenge, you are going to understand why clients buy. You're going to understand the products that they love to display. You're going to understand, how to create displays to sell, how to price those products for profit. You're going to understand many, many things, from describing photography emotionally to creating impactful slideshows, cropping and culling, to learn how to maximize
describing photos,
every photo for your client. And of course, the design consultation, my favorite part of the whole experience, where the magic happens, right? That like so many people F up their sales experience and get in their own way. Design consultation, incredible. Can't wait. So all you have to do is click the link below. And when you click the link below, you'll be brought to the sign up page for the Sales Success Challenge. It's a one-time investment of just $100. So one-time investment in yourself, in your clients,
doesn't
of just
seem real,
$100
at that price.
And when you sign up, you will automatically be given a unique referral link just for you that you can share with your photographer friends. And guess what happens when you share that with your photographer friends? When you share your unique referral link with your photographer friends and you tell them that they need to be doing this challenge with you to learn how to increase their sales, when they sign up and pay their $100, we don't keep that. We're going to give it back to you.
And you're helping them.
How incredible is that?
Win, win, win.
So join us for the Sales Success Challenge. We are excited to see you live during the challenge.
We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.